don't have any idea how to make an good UI designs like you have seen right here. You doesn't know any HTML, CSS or JavaScript, or doesn't know how to use an CSS, how its width, height, various SGV and various kind of things like in the HTML and CSS are included. So for that I have included a new tutorial on the launch button of HTML and CSS and JavaScript. For that you can go ahead to my next portion of my video. So let's go to there. Okay guys, so we have came here to our basic code part, how we have defined it and how we have started it. And before, if you want to watch another videos regarding these various amount of designing on how you can use the HTML, CSS and JavaScript, you can watch whole playlist of this button tutorials for your tutorials on how to use the JavaScript and CSS in your website. Okay, and then let's go to our tutorial part. As for the tutorial, we have taken the main, as we have shown the button as the yellow neon yellow animated button, and for that we have defined the style CSS file like you can see. And then I have go to our next part, which is the how we have written its code. Okay, for the main part of it, we have defined an div class, div with a web class, and then we have defined its and button with the class as neon button, and then its id as the accent button, and we have given it in a area label as start now. Okay, and for next part we have defined the its class as inner and spark with the spark as the we have given it a star from the emoji part, and then we have defined it in the another span which will going to come to its right hand side as the launch part. Okay, and then its button full part will be closed. And at last we have defined its node with the class as the node and its text of how it was working, like click and tap to see ripple and burst, spark burst, hover for shine and glow. Okay, and then we have given its an atlas JavaScript how it will going to activate. Okay, so let's go to our next part, which is the how we have defined its styles and colors. Okay, so for that we have defined the its main colors as with the variables as y0 by the white little yellowish color, and then the more yellow color, and then the prime which will be known as the primary neon of it, and then it's the warming edge, and it's bg color as black. If you want the white, then you can use it on white or anyway, and its text as also as in the blackish color. Okay, and then we have defined its main part as overall CSS as box sizing in the border box, and then HTML and body height in the 100%. And then we have go to our next part, which is the body of it, which has the margin as 0 and background as the radian grid, which will going to give in it a very good looking look that you have seen in the intro. Okay, so 120 pixel and 600 pixel and 70% and 100 minus 10% in that blackish color, and 0% and with the transparent as 60%, which will going to give a radiant like look to the background of the UI of us. And then again we have given it another UI feature in the radiant as 1000 pixel 600 at -10 and 110%, and then another black color of little blackish, and then 10% and transparent by 60%, and where variable color that we have defined above on the black. Okay, and then its font color as white till whitish. And then for the font family, you can see I have used the USN Safrin's system UI, Apple system, and Sosian, and so much more you can see it here. And then we have given it in a display as grid and place item at the center of the grid, and then we have defined its padding of 2.5 rem, which will going to contain the internal material of the button. Okay, the body. And then we have go to our next part, which is the wrapping them. We have defined that wrapping the button. We have used right here the grid method. For that, in the grid we have defined its space by 1.25 rem and justify the items in the center. Okay, and then we have go to our most important part on how that button is actually formed. Like, you want to see how this was actually formed. So for that, in start of it, I have defined the sum of the part as the radius as 16 pixel, pad y is 0.95 rem, pad x is 1.35 rem, and then the border width as 2 pixel. Okay, and then position in the relative, and then display in the inline grid, and place items in the center, and gap of them will be given as 0.5 rems. Okay, then in the padding you can use the upper. I have used the above method that I have defined in the root format, which will be used in the all of the part as pad y, where and then the calculate the we have used the cal where pad x and into by 1.6. Then we have go to our we have defined as border radius that we have defined above, then its border with a solid as the little grayish color that you can see in the RGBI I have given here. That if you have any another want to change, then you can change that. Okay, like someone want the green for your website or blue, then you can change it to by like say an blue and little variations of like them for giving them in a neon effects by in a similar format like I have given in the buttons. Okay, and then for the background we have defined the linear grid format as the 135-degree in the by and giving a variables y1 and y2 by its in a 0% and 40%, and then its color, and then this. Okay, its color, and we have defined its background colors as a 200% and 200%, and color given to them as text of black. Okay, and then at the font weight we have defined its font weight, not bold or anything, as in a 800, because it will going to make the stuff more adjustable for your own style. If you want to change it, then you can change it up on your preferences. Like I was liking that, so I had choose that. Then for the latest spacing we have defined as the 0.4 pixel, and then the text transform as uppercase and cursor as pointer, and user select event as the none, and then we have WebKit tab highlight color in the transparent format and transforming style in the preserve 3D, which will going to create in a 3D animations. Okay, that you can also check out on the some another YouTube's videos, like on how to make an like 3D models. This for this preserve 3D is used most of the time right there, or preserve parts. Okay, and then we have defined it the transform animation as by an 180 ms and QB resilience, and its dimension I have defined as a 0.21, 0.98 and 0.6 and 0.99, and box shadow as in the 220 ms in the easy format of its animation, and then the filter animation right there, and in the similar speed in the ease. Okay, and then you can see right here how we have defined its box shadow. Okay, like the darkening the background and giving it in a gray at the inset format for insiding of that button, like you have seen in the starting of it. Like it has been lot of time, and then the 0 point, you can check out its CSS how we have defined it. Okay, and then outline as a null and overflow hidden, and then we have isolate that element in the isolate format. Okay, and for the radiant rings that we have seen on that button, we have go to that part. Okay, and in that format we have again take the neon button class in the before format. For that we have defined its content as empty, then this one as absolute, and insert as -2 pixel, and border radius as cal variable radius that we have defined before, plus 4 pixel, and then the background from the conic radian way, from where as low angle 0 degree, and then the its color I have defined as the little black in or the 0 degree, and then dark little darkest yellowish color at the 70 degree, and then again blackish, then little more dark yellow at the 210 degree, and then again black. Okay, like that. If you want that another way, like you can use the another colors like red, blue, or anything. Like some people like also magenta colors in the website, like in the class morphisms also. I've also seen like people liking that. And in the we have then blurred them and give it in a saturation as 1.15. That can be adjustable for your own self, like if you want that way or that way, then you can go ahead. And then we have defined a z index at the minus, which will going to go below the button. Okay, and then its animation as in the spin 6-second linear infinite. Okay, and in the shiny swipe part I have defined as the content as nothing, position as absolute, insert as -40% and -20%, and background as linear gradient 110 degree, and then transparent 30 degree, and then RGB of the gray color in the 50%, and then transparent as 70 degree. Okay, then we go to our next part, which is the given in a translate transform animation of it in the translate x variable as we had defined above x sign. Okay, I have maybe below define that 60 -60% and rotate 8%, rotate 8 degree animation by the animation name as 2.6 seconds in the ease out animation format, and then infinite, and pointer event as none of it. Okay, and then we have go to our internal parts, like it's for the inner part we have defined its of the button as inner flex, then align atom as center and give them a gap of a 0.65 dim, and then position as relative and given it in a z index at 2. Okay, and then for the spark we have given the font size as 1.15 rim, and then give it in a box shadow as this 0.06 pixel, and then give it bright yellow color. Okay, and for the hover effects, like you can see, like in the start the button will be like very good, very brighten, and if the user just hover it, and then it will going to shall be get in a little darker, like it has some activity on there. So I had defined it like transform it by translate function by -2 pixel, and then given it's in a box shadow like 0, 10 pixel, 28 pixel with the dark yellow part, and then inside 0, 2 pixel, 0 and gray color at inset format of the inside for the inside color, and then the again like that you can see right here, and then we have defined it the saturation as 1.08. Okay, and for the active part of it I have given its style, okay, like this you see. Okay, and for the animation, how these animations are actually working, I have defined them as this. Like for the keyframe spin, I have defined the two glow and angle with the 360-degree, and then sine at the 0% with the variable as you can see right here, sine x like -75, then 50%, 55, then 75. And for the ripple effect, which is the that you have seen in the most of the buttons, like or some part like in the website also uses like this format, like for giving it in a like fade out and circle in out animations, like you can see in the videos and VFX and SFX like parts also there you can see the ripple effect. Like for that we have defined its position as the absolute, and then border radius as 999 pixel, and then the transform as -50 and -50, and then the pointer event as none, and then width and height as 20 pixel, and then background as gradient circle, and then the its color as gray, white, white is gray, then gray in that 0%, 40% and 70%. Okay, and then we have defined in the mixed blend format in the screen format, so that it will going to take it in the blend way, like in the screener, and in like at that particular, like it will going to show the circles. For that, checking the how this is actually button working, I have defined, I will going to give you an code pen link in the description, so that you can go right there and check out for the animation how it was actually working. Okay, and then for the z index I have defined it the 1, and then animation you can see right here of it. For the start its opacity will be 0.75, and then at the end it will going to get to 0, and its width and height will be 520 pixel. That can be adjustable for your own purpose. And at last the spark animation that you can see right here, as this way you can see out. Okay, right here you can just see how I have defined it like we have previously. And for the main part I have defined the animation as the, which is newer to you, as pop 600 ms, and cubic Brazil dimensions as this I have defined, and their delay and in the forward direction. If these are like units that are very experimental, so like so many like CSS you have to just implement, and then you can just learn from that. And then you can see its animation for the 0% opacity as this, translate and then rotate, and then opacity as 80, and then 100% opacity, and then transform it like this, you can see right here. And at last we have defined its the motion preference and the styles, like you can see like optional part like note that I have given right there for the your own learning. Okay, so let's go to our next part, which is the script of how this its JavaScript was done. Okay, for that you have seen in the HTML part the action button ID of the button, right here I have taken it. Okay, for by the document get element by ID and its ID, and we have defined it some functions like you can see, like I have added an add event listener for the pointer move. As the event goes it will going to take its rect button get mounting client rectangle function, which will going to track how and where it is been there, and it will calculate its event client x and minus by a rectangle left of that pixel, and then this one, and then similar way in the y with the rect as top, and then we will going to see how it will going to tilt in the x and y format, that you can see its formula I have used right here in the rect height, and then the canvas rect width that in, and then we have transformed it like this right here. And for the pointer leaf I have defined its style transform as nothing. And then for the main part, which is the how its spark is shown in that part, okay, which is the main on only part which will going to teach you how to make an amazing animations like ripple plus spark burst effects, which you can click on. And then for that we have event, add an event as click, and then it will going to trigger an event, and it will going to trigger its original position, like in that way you can see its three line that it has been our doing it. And then it will going to trigger an ripple animation with the const ripple document. It will going to create a span right there. At that moment it will going to give it a class name as ripple, and we will going to style it as x and y that we have taken its position, okay, above by the pixels. And then it will, we will going to append its child, and then we will going to start the animations as the animation end, and then as the animation end, and it will going to remove that ripple effect. Okay, and for the spark I have right now using the number of the current sparks as 14. If you want the like 10, 20, 15, 16, whatever you have want, you can choose right here. And for that you can just use the for loop way like we have used in the for let I as 0 and then I less than spark, then it will going to currently plus it, so that as the loop goes from the 0 to 13 it will going to stop. And we have taken it, create another span as the that, and then we will going to name it in a class name as spark, and its degree will be as the in the random formats, so that it look in the like every time user get the good experience. For that I have used the math random format by in the 360 degree divided by spark, and then it's ia plus math random into 12 minus 6. Okay, and then its distance will be calculated as the 40 plus math random into 36, and then we will going to style it how it will going to uh, appear on that part. Okay, for that sp we have defined its style as set property of the root as degree plus degree. Okay, that we have taken the degree right here, and then the distinct format in the similar way, and then the ty part and its delay in that format that you can see above, like I have defined in the for loops, and then its size is in the random format like 5 plus math random into 5 pixel, and then the sp style left of the, then we have defined its position in that way, and then we will going to append its child as this animation needs to be go there, and then we will as the animation ends by the animation and event listener, it will going to just remove it from there. Okay, so that's it for today guys. If you guys enjoy it and want to see how this actually was working, you can just go to my code pen or go to my github for using that code for your own purposes like learning and so many other YouTube tutorial videos of that way. So if you guys enjoy it, then you can watch another videos, and bye bye.